Okay, good evening, everyone. Good evening. My name's John Parker, Technical Director at the Arboricultural Association, and it's my great pleasure to wish you all a happy new year and to welcome you to the association headquarters here in Stonehouse in the UK. And everyone here at the Arb Association sends you their best, and we hope you managed to enjoy your break if you had one. This is our first webinar of 2021. This year's surely going to be better. Nothing possibly can go wrong. And it's the first webinar in our new series, which will, of course, bring you the best and most interesting tree-related content from around the world between now and about the end of March, I expect. A quick New Year reminder for you, please use the chat to say hello and to tell us where you're all from and watching from, and to comment on the presentations throughout the evening. But do remember to select all panelists and attendees so that everyone can see what you've written. If you've got any questions, then please use the Q&A box provided. As ever, there's a couple of small notices from me before we get started. First of all, I would encourage all of you to register free for our webinar next week, which we've called Living with Greenery, and which will be all about two very interesting case studies from different parts of the world. Abdallah Taufik will be speaking about a project to create rooftop gardens in Cairo, and Lauriane Suyin Chalminpur will be presenting a recent study from the RHS about the positive impact of front gardens on residents in Sheffield. Be sure to sign up and tell any of your friends and colleagues who might be in the worlds of design and landscaping that they should check it out too. Secondly, the fact that you're all here suggests a couple of things to me. One, that you're a fan of trees, and two, that you don't mind watching your computer screen for a while. So if you like webinars, you'll love our range of online training courses. We've got a load available for your online learning pleasure with a combination of e-learning and live training courses, and we've got loads more courses in the pipeline as well. As well as being really interesting and enjoyable and helping with your CPD requirements, members of the association receive a discount on the price of training. At this very moment in time, unless you're watching a recording, in which case you'll have to check, but at this very moment in time, we've got a couple of vacancies on our British Standard 5837 course on Friday, January the 22nd, and some places on our next Tree, Pest, Diseases and Disorders course on Monday, February the 1st. And we also have a range of e-learning options too. More information is, of course, available on our website. And one last thing, happy birthday, William, for tomorrow. This evening, we have two really great talks for you, firstly from Rob McBride and then Cecylia Malik. However, I have to tell you that unfortunately, Cecilia is unable to join us live this evening. Apologies. We only found out, I just threw my pen, that's how upset I am, I've thrown my pen across the desk. We only found out on Monday, which of course was not stressful in the slightest. So we pre-recorded Cecilia's presentation just last night, and it will be shown as part of the webinar this evening. If it's any consolation, I can tell you in all honesty that her project is one of the most inspiring pieces of work I've ever seen. And anyone who gets to hear this talk should count themselves very lucky, whether it's live or pre-recorded. So there, enjoy it. But first of all, we're going to hear from Rob McBride, who is very much with us live to tell you all about the great trees of Offa's Dyke, and if I'm any judge, to drop in one or two tree puns along the way. So Rob, I will say over to you.
Okay. How's that? We're okay for sound, John. Yeah, it's good.
We're good for sound. We can see you. Just share your screen.
Okay, I've just seen a few people coming in there. Bonsoir, bonsoir, Noswyth da to those in Wales, and good evening from, I was going to say sunny Shropshire, but looking out there, it's disappeared. Yes, we're on for a bit of a march tonight. I don't know whether this is actually legal with this lockdown, because we're going to do, our permitted exercise is going to be 96 miles. So I hope you've got your trainers on, and it's going to be in 40 minutes. So we're going to get a bit of a pace going to cover the distance. So let me just fire that up. Okie dokie. So yeah, as I say, good evening, everybody. We're going to have it may be a little bit pacey, but I've got quite a few. I'm trying to beat Reg Harris for the number of slides in a talk in 30 or 40 minutes. So as you will see, we are going to go down the great trees of Offa's Dyke, down the north section. So I will explain where we're going to actually start and finish today. As you can see from that, we are celebrating 50 years of the Offa's Dyke National Trail Path. Yeah, 1971. And at the bottom corner there, you may see something that says there's a book due out in 2021. That's a good joke, that is. But anyway, apparently it's going to happen. Just thank you to John and the Arb Association, Arboricultural Association. Thanks for those that bought the calendar and those that have donated to Tree Spec CIC, which is a not-for-profit that you'll hear about later on. Thanks to the tree professors, as I call you, Ted, ATF, all the members there. Mothers on Tree Stumps. I was supposed to go and visit them a couple of years back when it was on, and I didn't in the end. I was up the north of Poland. I couldn't get down there. Thanks to the many people in UK and Europe who support my work, and stay safe in these weird sort of times. And we're going to bring some positivity and some bad jokes. Okay. So if you want to have a look at what I've been doing on this, the easiest thing you can do later is search BBC Offers Dyke Trees, and you will get a lot more info than perhaps I can give you tonight. And as it says there, I started this project in 2008, and I only had 2 eyes. And you know what's coming, don't you? Now I have 3 eyes, yes. Shall I get my coat? And so you can see from that, it's going to be light-hearted. Let's get going. I'd just like to mention a few people here. Crag Hoppers, clothes, Cotswold Shoes for the boots, Hearty Wealth Management, they've supported me on projects, and all these others. Woodland Trust for the Ancient Tree Hunt, and Offers Dyke Collaboratory, Offers Dyke Association, National Trails. So I want to whiz through this really quick because there's a lot of slides to get through. You'll be able to look at this on video later, and if you want to follow Tree Hunter here, there, and everywhere. One thing I will say, there's a couple of really good groups on Facebook, Big Tree Seekers and Ancient and Sacred Trees. There's also a little coronavirus COVID-19 distraction group called Trees from Windows. So perhaps everybody who's been on here tonight, if you join Trees from Windows on Facebook and send us a picture from your window, because we're all stuck indoors most of the time at the moment. And if you could like Great Trees of Offers Dyke page, that would be cool. So I've had to resort to a few. I don't think anybody suspects a thing. So yes, I was out tree hunting the other day. It looks like I was in Los Angeles, actually, that photograph. But anyway, let's miss on. So on the serious side, as we know, a lot of you people who are into trees will know the many, many, many benefits that trees give us for free, even though we might not treat them properly, HS2 people. And as you can see there, I was a burnt out software engineer, 2004. Severe mental health issues, anxiety, and as Julia Bradbury said when we did Country File, trees saved your soul, Rob, which is pretty much the truth. They saved my life, really. Okay, again, limited for time. I will point you, it's going to be a little bit like this. I'll point you for some technical information. What is an ancient tree? Because this is really difficult for me to know the knowledge level of the attendees tonight. So Ancient Tree Forum, for me, what is an ancient tree? An ancient tree is one, when I see it, I go, holy moly, or words to that effect, if there's nobody else about. And the Ancient Tree Forum website has brilliant technical, there's vet tree videos, you could immerse yourself there for a few months. I've got the note at the bottom there that's, I don't know whether it should be on that page, but anyway, it's talking about measuring a tree, which I've been doing quite a lot of. In the UK, we do it at 5 foot, 1.5 meters. In Europe, 1.3. Essentially, the narrowest point, sort of below 2 meters or something like that, is really cool. A lot of people won't know who King Offa was. I didn't really a few years back, but anyway, he was an Anglo-Saxon, early Anglo-Saxon king of Mercia, and his kingdom covered quite an area of the middle of England and butting up right to Wales, which is where I am really. And just want to make something quite clear tonight. There's 2 sort of facets to the Offers Dyke. There's the monument at the bottom there. It's a linear earthwork. 1,250, it's as old as I feel tonight, 1,250 years old, roughly that age. I said the Offers Dyke path at the top is a national trail, and it follows the Dyke monument for quite a good distance, but not all the way. So I wanted to make that clear. There are sort of 2, and I've walked both. And you will see there's Offers Dyke monument. and it's it's incredible, actually. It's the longest linear earthwork in the UK and one of the longest in Europe. And it is still the modern border between England and Wales for much of its route. And it's spectacular. I'm a bit biased. The other photograph to my right, anyway, that's not showing the ditch so well, is just by Chirk Castle there. It's spectacular scenery. So it runs from, you can see Liverpool there, Manchester, just above Liverpool. I didn't put it on. It's one of the best football teams in the world, Preston North End. I just thought I'd give you that. Birmingham in the middle and Bristol at the bottom. So those are the big cities you'll see, and Cardiff just over to the west. But that's essentially where it runs, right down that border. 177 miles, 285 kilometers. And we're just going to do half tonight. You can all, John will be able to see, if you put your hands up now, who can see Offa's Dyke from where they are sitting in the daytime, I mean, not in the evening. If I go in my bathroom and stand on the toilet cistern and poke my head out the window, I can see Offa's Dyke right over there between those houses. That's how close I am. It's 8 miles. And again here, I should be checking the time. That's another thing I needed to be doing. Prestatyn to Knighton. That's where we're going to do 96 miles. And that was going to be the name of the talk. A really good trees of Offa's Dyke. Let me just grab this so I know what time it is. Okay, yeah, another bad joke there, but that's a large fagus, a large beech tree halfway down the dike. That, don't ask me why those were there, but that's what I found. Okay. So we're going to start. I've done it, the chapters, you'll see the title there, chapter. So this is as it is in the book that I'm sort of writing. I'm 100,000 words plus. So chapter 1, I started at Prestatyn and I walked down to Bodfari. Feet in the sea, in the Irish Sea, April the 23rd, St. George's Day, 2008, nearly 13 years ago. And you'll notice the first tree that I recorded coming up the high street was at the church, a smallish yew tree. I will talk. You see there where it says ATIH, that's the Ancient Tree Hunt Inventory / Hunt. It was called the Ancient Tree Hunt, now the inventory. I was hoping to show you a live screen, but they've had big issues with Woodland Trust have had big issues with their sites at the moment, so they're all down. First person I met was a lovely gentleman, Bill Hollinson, an ex-forester, which was a nice coincidence, and we had a really lovely chat. If I get time, which I doubt tonight, I would show you a little film of him. And you'll see there, I'm using what 3 words. Anybody who uses the app can click those words, and they will take you straight to the tree. So there's Prestatyn from the top, and it was April, so there was lots of those yellow flowers. It's very beautiful, of course it is. And the first veteran tree, there's the what 3 words for it, was complete. As I threw me tape around, I was very bad. I disturbed a barn owl, and he took off just above my head, which was beautiful. Didn't manage to get the shot of him, though, a camera shot. Okay, this is the Ancient Tree Hunt website, how it should be looking, but say it's down. So you can see, hopefully you can see like a linear set of trees. Red, private trees, green are public trees, and then there's various other categories, unverified and stuff like that. In fact, you might not see the unverified these days, but that's the Ancient Tree Hunt. I think I've done, because I haven't finished the project yet, I think I've got some to record in my notebook, so there'll be 700 plus up to 1,000 maybe trees. And if we come, chapter 2 is taking us in from Bodfari to Llandegla. Sorry to the Welsh people watching this. I can do it, Llandegla a bit. I'm not brilliant with my Welsh pronunciation, so I'm sorry about that. You'll see the path goes through the Clwydian Range and Dee Valleys. So it goes through an AONB, an area of outstanding natural beauty, Mulvama, right through there. It's, again, incredible scenery, which you'll see a bit of. So some of the trees up in this area, I call in that the Fosbury Flop. If those of you will remember Dick Fosbury from the Olympics many years ago, you can see how it's arched its back to get over the fence. The Bendy Beech. And these are trees, these are notable trees. These aren't ancient or veteran. For me, they're notable. And sometimes I've recorded trees as notable or stroke heritage because they're on the Dyke, on the monument or the path. And there's lovely Tom Roberts, who saved my life in 2003 when I'd done 27 miles, 43 kilometers on a 26-degree spring day. And I'd run out of water a long time before I met him. I was gasping, and he was a great chap, sadly no longer with us. Spaghetti ivy tree. Oh, could I ask a favor, John? If you could give me a shout. Right, okay, 17. Right, I'll get going. I found my phone. And I will turn the sound off. That's a crabapple, a lot of malus, a lot of upland trees in this region. Rowan, crabapple, a lot of sycamore, and very important tree there, standing deadwood. Cathedrals of biodiversity. Don't chop them down, people. Leave them if you can, if they're safe. And then I got to Llandegla, and in 2008, the headmaster was Gordon Hughes. He's left since. So the subtitle to this talk is Offa's Dyke, Great Trees of Offa's Dyke, Trees, People, Culture. And you will see that I've met, as I come through this talk, a lot of people, a lot of doggies. There's my doggie. Yeah, it's more than just trees. It's about the interaction with people, the cultural significance of trees in the landscape, in the treescapes. This is Peniclodi up on the Clwydians with Buddy, me little hound. And that's some of the sort of scenery. Very, very nice views. In fact, Sean, if Sean's on tonight, that's not far from his house. Then we come to chapter 3. So this could take us about 3 weeks to do chapter 3, because this is an incredibly rich area of special trees. And I hope I'm not going too fast, but I am aware that I don't want to make everybody sit here for, well, midnight. How do you fancy midnight? I could go on till midnight. Llandegla 2, Castle Mill, and the Iglusigs. You come over from Llandegla, you come through the forest, the mountain biking forest, and you come across the moor, and then you come, in fact, you start to step in the footsteps of George Borrow, his walk around Wales. You cross his footsteps, and then you come down from World's End, as the sign's pointing there, and then you start meeting things like this Celtic maple. If Ted's on, you'll be happy I've said that. There's a sycamore, quite a good sycamore there at Rock Farm. Birch, rowan, and a lady, Jane Reed. I think Jane might be on tonight. I hope you are, Jane. Thanks for the calendar. She's a calendar lady, as you'll see later. I met Jane and we walked for 2 days on this walk in 2008, past Castle Dinas Bran, which if Ian Rowley's on tonight, Mr. Llangollen, again, spectacular scenery. And of course, they got the Eisteddfod. Hopefully this year they'll have an Eisteddfod. As you walk along this, the first time I looked at the photograph of this place, I thought that doesn't look like the UK. It looks like somewhere like Greece or somewhere. It's spectacularly beautiful. Those, I didn't look at the black dots when I walked past. I walked straight past them. And then one of the tree professors, David Alderman, from the Tree Register of the British Isles, a pupil of Alan Mitchell, no less, said, Rob, people have been saying about the photos, there's some black dots. Go and have a look. So you'll see that we did go and have a look. And here they are. The ancient yews up there, and they're used for climbers. Climbers use them. They give them the name for each different route. And some of these have been cored at over 900 years old by Doug Larson, the Canadian dendrologist, and some maybe over 1,500 years old, some of these spectacular ancient yews. So in 2009, Jill Butler came with me, and we went with BBC Countryfile and presenter James Wong, and we hung about for a little while. James was a bit reluctant to go over the edge, as I've put in my book. He was a little bit, and I was hanging about there for an hour, but we did it in the end, and we measured them, etc. And it was, as you can see, the scenery there. Ooh, wow. Over that hill in the distance is the Ceiriog Valley, which we're going to get into quite soon. Also in these these hills or mountains are some very, very special. That Chester Zoo, in fact, have got a project to count them. There's only 300 of these in the world, 307, I think they said, the last count. Sorbus Cunifolia. Wow. So these white beams, they do, if you like, hybridize quite readily. And I think my images are the Rupicola. It says there they grow almost exclusively there. I think there's 2 or 3 now in Shropshire at Lunkless, apparently. But yeah, very, very, they're in the IUCN threat status listing. So, you know, there's not many of them. And there's Jane. Okay, Jane with one of the calendar photos, calendar girl, a lovely Fraxinus there, big ash tree of reasonable size, about 4.5 meters, if I remember. And that's just coming off the mountain down towards this place. So we now come into Pontcysyllu Aqueduct. Again, you can see it's special. It's got a UNESCO World Heritage status site, and that area. And the site goes in, I think it includes Chirk Castle, but it doesn't quite include a tree we're going to see. It just stops short of a tree, which they should have in it. Anyway, that's the aqueduct. Stunning. And the path goes, you can either go over the aqueduct or round to the west on the road. And then there's the man, 2005, that is, Mr. Ted giving a talk in at Chirk Castle. It's a permissive path. The path that goes through the castle is only after around about Easter time. I don't know with what's going on with lockdown, COVID. You'd have to check their website if it's passable after April. But yeah, Marcher Fortress, fantastic site. And if you do go to Chirk Castle at any time, make sure you go and find this tree. Go and find the tree. This chestnut, as you can see, is quite a good chestnut, one of the best in Wales. It's sort of in the park. Oh, no, it's in the woodland near the parkland. But the actual Offa's Dyke monument goes right through a pool in Chirk Castle, and it comes out the other side, continues across, and then comes to this section where I think this is the best section of Dyke for ancient trees, ancient and veteran. This is just stunning down here. You will see it finishes down at the bottom by the road with perhaps the most famous tree of the Dyke, the oak at the Gate of the Dead, a tree that I was asked to pick the first Welsh tree of the year in 2014, and this was an obvious choice for me. And it was a tree that I named in 2006 or 7. And it went on to go into European Tree of the Year. So I'm just doing a little diversion here. European Tree of the Year, 1st of Feb this year, they're going to be asking you to vote for your favorite trees, as they do. And this year I will not be traveling around 12 countries, sadly. But anyway, that's what that's all about. And there's Julia Bradbury when they filmed, and fantastic local historian Mark Williams, the Battle of Croggan, 1165. He's an expert historian on this battle, and him and Derrin many years ago put together a project, and they put up these interpretation panels. There's a picture of Sean Berkey poking his head behind the one there. And you can see we took the Olympic torch there in 2012 as well. Okay, recent projects. The world-renowned, I should introduce him as, Dan Llewellyn Hall. Fantastic artist, the youngest artist ever to paint Her Majesty the Queen's portrait. And he's got his own unique style. And Dan has set up a project called Walking with Offa, and there will be an exhibition, was scheduled for the 1st of March. I think it's still on at the moment. I don't know. You'd have to check with the Offa's Dyke Centre, Offa's Dyke Association. But Dan paints out in the field, and his dog's not water all over it, and he just gets on and does it. He's really, well, you'll see after as well. Okay, there's a couple of guardians, tree guardians. That's what we need. Look after you could do with them on HS2, I reckon, really. That armour might sort of, yeah. Okay, there is a tree trail. If you ever go to Chirk Castle, there's a Tickle tree trail. Visit tickle.me to register and download the app on your phone. in 2013. This is just up the road from the oak at the Gate of the Dead. So you've got the Julian oak and the oak at the Gate of the Dead, and then you've got this, which was the largest oak in Wales, was probably one of the largest oaks that's ever been. It was 51 feet girth, 16 meters in the 1950s and 60s. It sadly collapsed in April 2013. Just let me have a look how we're doing. Oh my God, time. Wow. Okay, other work that I do is in Sheffield, again with Dan painting there. Tree art's very powerful for campaigning, and we had to campaign and have a great Trees of Sheffield with Jarvis Cocker, Dave Dillner there, and Deeper, many people, and the Brimon Oak. I had to put that in, the tree that we saved, because a part of this talk really is about tree protection, proper ancient trees having proper protection, which they don't get, and we're still battling for it. You can see a letter from the Queen there, which was very exciting. And HS2, Dan did some painting to campaign. Paul Powler's land there, you'll see the lawyer, I invited him to come along there that day, and Paul's doing a great deal of work. He did it in Sheffield, and now he's doing it with other campaigning groups. And there's Dan, one of Dan's Green Reaper. Okay, and the latest was Janice Fry with a petition in the House of Lords that we went to, 250,000 signed. We still haven't got proper protection. I'm going to jump into celebrity. So I do work with quite a few people. People in the UK will know who these are. I call them celebrities. The latest is Sean Fletcher, and you will see in a minute about the filming we've done for a programme that's coming out in April with ITV Wales. And just one there, those people, I'll have a quick drink while you read that there. Anne Robinson, she was not really a nice person, and she was very bad to me. Oh, Rob, how do you know a tree is ancient? And I thought, oh, well, if it's as old as you, Anne, it's ancient. Anyway, I laughed. I did have a laugh at that, but she didn't. And that got thrown out. She edited that out, got him to take it out, which was so annoying. Okay. Let's go. Let's have a drink. Chapter 4, we're going to go Castle Mill to Lannamunnock. So we're coming across the bridge into England. There's me and Dan at Carrigabbig on one of the beach fagots that's fallen there, sadly. This tree, in the 17th of November 2008, I named this tree. It's like with the ship. It was Prince Charles's 60th birthday, and we were filming. It was my first time with Countryfile. So we named a tree. I named a tree after Prince Charles's 60th birthday. I did a report about the visit, about the day, and I sent to Jill Butler. I didn't know Jill was visiting him on the Monday, and she went and gave him the report, and that's what he said. Oh, that's what you think of me then, ancient and falling over, which I thought was pretty cool of him to say. And sadly, it did. Well, it may have been cut by the looks of it. I don't know the story with what happened. You can't always find out. Offa's Dyke Monument has private sections, so if you have to get permission off any tree that's private. You have to get permission to go and measure. So this is what the delights of some of the private areas are. Many people have not seen these. We're back on to the Offa's Dyke Path at Oswestry Racecourse, and Candy Woods through here. Candy down into the Candy Valley over Oswestry Racecourse. In the book, there's a lot more explanation there about candid camera and a customs post. This is a very quick skim through the book, if you like. The Kaidu Oak was the first tree we ever filmed, and that's Rhiannon Meehan, who was working at the time with BBC Countryfile. And as you can see, it's a Henry VIII 500-year-old oak pollard, 7.5 meters girth. Good tree. Yeah, he wouldn't move over, but anyway, some of the models sometimes I get, they're, yeah, very nice. They make a nice photo with the tree, I think, sometimes. Tryffonin is a real hotspot for Offa's Dyke. Andy Heaton, hello, Andy, if you're there. He's a Offa's Dyke trustee, committee member, and they've had I haven't seen these yet. These are beautiful stained glass and wood, embedded in lovely wood markers for the path. Very, very. And they've got a really proactive group there, the Tryffonin Rural Protection Group. Okay, yeah, that's some tree. The Flying Oak. Anybody who knows Klaus, I wonder if Klaus is on tonight. I did send him an email. This tree is included in one of Klaus's great books. And I just sort of saw something from a long way away, further than this, and had to go and have a look. And that's what I found. And I called it the flying oak because essentially, I don't even know how it stayed up as long as it did. And Klaus did a lot of his stuff that's way above my level of intelligence and knowledge. All the diagrams about how the tree was putting out that limb to actually keep it the other way. It's very technical. But sadly, I haven't got a picture of it on the ground. It did fall. It did fall in the end. Or was it pushed? I don't know. Again, some of the people I've met, Guinoro and Wally Sager, the guy by the door and the guy sitting down, sadly no longer with us. And Ken, I know, I class him as Offa's Dyke country, and 2 East German girls I met on the hike in 08. So how are we doing, John? 30, okay. Lannamunnock to Buttington. So this follows the canal for a little bit of the way. Then it follows the River Severn. So we're on the floodplain of the River Severn. This section really is all about one tree for me. And there it is, just a tiny little sapling of a oak tree there. And we let it go. And a lady who was at college with me, Veronica, she found it, waded through the River Severn and wrecked her phone and all sorts. She found this tree in 2009, 11.03 meters. Was the largest oak along the Dyke, second largest in Wales. And for the sake of €700, £500, it fell over, as you'll see. So it was in an intensively farmed environment. I'm not going to say a lot about that. And it split in summer of 2017. You can just get a feeling for the size of it. And then it completely fell over in February 18. So some exciting news this last year, actually. 2018, Matt and Emma, who's now with the Woodland Trust, they came along, and I helped as well to take core samples. And they were sent off to Cardiff University, Professor Lynn Boddy, Kew Gardens, Brian at Kew, and then they were sent to Pedro Croas, who announced last June that there's a new fungi species to science found, and he named it Ipsilinia buttingtonensis after the tree. So, and there it is, there's the fungi, and those are his photographs under the microscope. But yeah, exciting stuff there. ITV Wales are going to have a program called The Wonders of the Border, airing in April and also summer across all the ITV networks. So you will see a drone camera flying around above my head and all sorts of. We had a lot of fun, me and Sean. Whilst at the same time, I suggested, I'm glad they took the suggestion up of having Dan come and paint a tree, and yeah, he got Dominic's oak. Lovely joke at the bottom. He always paints like this. This was Dan setting out, and this is how he started. And Dominic didn't want to leave him alone. It was so funny. And there's his ears. And you can see Dominic gave his opinion, Dan. I hope Dan's on tonight. All right, Dan, mate. You haven't seen this photo. And what Dominic thought of Dan's paintings. I was going to put a caption there. You call that art, mate, but I didn't. But yeah, I didn't even know I took that photo until quite recently. I'm going through them all. Okay, there's sort of more finished, not totally finished because Dan takes it back to, but Dan likes to be in the field to get the feel of and the gist of the tree and the experience. So do go along to his. Is there anything else there? No, that's it. Okay. If you do want to help us do our campaigning work or whatever work we do, talks, etc., that's if you wanted to donate to Tree Spec CIC, if you search for that, I'd forgotten all about it because my website was wiped out 2 years ago. It was hacked and wiped out. So the treehunter.com is very, very basic. But there is a screen when somebody sent me some money, which is unusual. And I found this screen. If you Google donate to Tree Spec, you will get it. It'd be really cool. Chapter 6, Buttington to Montgomery. We better get, how are we doing? Yeah, right, I'm going to get going. Buttington to Montgomery. Leighton Redwoods. This is the Royal Forestry Society site, and this tree fell down in 1936. Coast redwood, Sequoia sempervirens. one of the biggest groves in Europe. And now it's 6 or 8 trees, as you can see there lying down. It's what we call a phoenix tree, and ultimately ultra cool. And there, another 500-year-old oak pollard just falling over them in this area. And we come to the dragon oak. I'm going to whiz through because this was the starting tree. You can see perhaps on some of the photos, it's got a 9-meter root crawling down the rock face there. Just a beautiful photogenic tree. And then you come to Montgomery, which go and see this shop, Bunner's shop, and go to Castle Kitchen for some food. But Bunner's shop is a proper hardware shop. I hope they're still trading, and I hope they were okay with all this. So we're going to go Montgomery to Knighton now. We're going to go at a bit of a pace because I can see the time. Straight away, you have Lymore Estate there. There's a tree with a cricket ball, eating a cricket ball, a beech, massive beech trees. This is a private estate, but it does have public rights of way, which you can see these trees on. Again, 8-meter pollard, candelabra, open grown. Ted will be getting excited if he's watching now. That's an open grown oak. A maiden oak that's not been cut. Stunning. And then we come down to, oi geezer, fancy some cheap fuel. I don't even know how much 4 and threepence is. I can't remember exactly. I was born way after that time, obviously. This is the Bluebell Oak, and there's the Bluebell Hotel and Inn. And the owner, Helen Jones, God bless her, she passed away in the last summer. Been there all her life, and she got a photo in the bar there from 1889 of this tree, and I filmed her a lot of times. There she is. If you ever have a bread and butter pudding, that's about 1 inch of butter on each slice there. I'm just showing there a kitchen and the light switches from an ex-electrician, those Bakelite. If Ian Rowley's on, you'll like that. We come along there, we're back into Shropshire. From Shropshire, the border's whizzing about there, but past a Mott and Bailey, fantastic one, Brompton Mill, and then we come to Mellington Hall. Again, private trees here. The Dyke does run around the perimeter. And there's Kathy with the dog. I can't remember the dog's name. 2 other fellas, Victor and John, with a 6-meter pollard. My camper van. I'm going to whiz through these. And there's, hello, mate. Again, another photo I've only seen recently. And I thought, well, that looks like a nose, Anyway. A quick diversion. I think I might have walked too far into America. I'm going to do this really quick. Just up the road from those trees is a fantastic garage, if you like cars with big engines and that. And now we're into cultural landscapes, the River Unk and Nutwood. And it's cultural landscapes stroke treescapes. Can you see something over there? Well, if Chabier's on, hola, Chabier, and Jose, I hope they're all watching anyway. You'll see they've got sheeps. It's my joke with them, the sheep there. But on the top of the bank going up to the left, you'll see something in Nutwood. And here they are. So in 1955, you have to bear in mind these were different times. So these were all ring barked. They couldn't be cut for selling because they were hollow oak trees, which is a natural phenomenon to make them live longer. We love hollow trees. But they were ring barked, but they've survived. They've survived just, and it's quite a really nice place. And Bob Hockenall, hiya Bob. Bob's a BBC reporter, just retired recently. So good luck to you, Bob. And there he is doing filming. He's done a lot of filming with us. Ash pollards around that valley to die for. Over the hill now, we're getting closer to Knighton at Lower Spode, Newcastle, Crook Barn, and the lovely family there, Tess and Ben and John. There's Ben with one of his oaks. The Dyke is stunning there. As you see there, I think they have electric up there now. And he's talking about a place called Scotland. It's just up the top of the hill. At that time, they didn't have electric. Or they may have just had it. Escape to the Country, I filmed a long time ago. And that's how I get lifts home. The Serviette with Clun, I used to do quite a bit of hitchhiking to save walking back the same way. And we're coming into Knighton now, Landfair Hill, Panpunton Hill, very open, not many trees, so I could get a move on walking into Knighton. And you'll see Rob Dingle there in the red, the bottom, the path officer, fantastic bloke. And this was 10 years ago, the 40th anniversary. How are we doing? Oh, wow, 22. Okay. Go back there. In a few weeks' time, most probably, I did tell the ODA, Office Dyke Association, it was February the 1st, but I realized that that's the start of European Tree of the Year. So maybe on Valentine's Day, I'm going to launch a contest for the great trees of Offa's Dyke with some celebrity judges to be announced. Exciting judges we're going to have. And wow, yeah, I'm coming to the end. Thank goodness me, says John. What's to come next? So the Offa's Dyke South, we will do a talk in the summer. You can see the 2 books there. Get the guidebooks; they're really good. And Harvey Marks is going to be on a Terry Cruise, and those are yew trees that have been painted. I love them. Some people might hate them, but I think that's quite good. And there we go. I'm going to leave you at that. I've done a little bit over the 30 minutes, but not too bad, John, I think. Not too excessive.
I was very surprised with how controlled you were, Rob. That was brilliant.
Well, it's funny because I've written down here that, of course, in this lockdown time, my wife is a teaching assistant, and I'm listening to lessons all day. And I should have said at the start, and now over to the headmaster to do the registration. Who's present?
There's certainly, I think you break the record for knowing more people in the audience than anyone else we've had. I think there's a lot of people who know you in this crowd. People are asking questions in the chat. If I could ask you possibly to transfer your questions into the Q&A, then I can keep an eye on them and we can ask them to Rob later on. What else was I going to say? Oh, yes, I was also going to say that when I was talking to Rob about doing this presentation, he was saying that it was almost too much for one presentation. So we agreed, I think, Rob, didn't we, that this is sort of part 1. And there will be a part 2, hopefully over the summer at some point. In one of our summer webinars, you'll be hearing from Rob again for part 2 to find out what happened at the end. So,
John, could I just say one thing? If some of the feedback, well, we can do it in Q&A perhaps. I'd love to know the pace if that was too fast for people, because there was a lot crammed in there, I must admit.
Yeah, no problem. We always welcome feedback from our audience, who are very discerning, so I'm sure they'll let us know. So keep the chat going, keep the questions coming in. Rob, thank you very much. We're going to do our next presentation now, and then we'll come back to you for questions and answers at the end. I'm just going to mute you now. Don't take it personally. Okay. Oh, it's all changed around. Right. Brilliant. Well, thank you. That was absolutely great. Really, really good stuff. We even suffered the tree puns. They weren't too bad. You did well. Now, next up, as promised, is Cecylia Malik. And as I said at the beginning, if some of you missed it, sorry, Cecylia can't be with us live. But yesterday, she recorded her presentation for us, and we've now edited it. Not edited it, she didn't have to edit it. She was brilliant, but we've chopped and tailed it, and it's all ready to go for you to watch. Now, obviously, Cecilia's not here to answer questions, but please, it's an incredible presentation, and the images are particularly incredible, and I'd love you to discuss it in the chat. I think that's what this is all about, really, bringing it to the people and talking about what we think about it. But if you do have any questions for Cecylia, then please do put them in the Q&A button. I can pass them on to her, and we will definitely be getting her back involved in something in the future. And if you have any particular questions about arboriculture in Poland, then without trying to put anyone under too much pressure, we do have a couple of audience members. I'm looking at you, Camille, Piotr, possibly a few others, who are quite knowledgeable in this particular area. So they'll be able to engage on the chat, hopefully, and maybe even get them on screen if we need to. So I will now ask Sophie, as if by magic, to share your screen from your end.
Good evening. My name is Cecilia Malik. I come from Kraków, city in the south of Poland. Here is river, which is very important, Vistula River, and the tree. And this picture is kind of visit card of me, because I was born in Kraków. I have children here. I finished Academy of Fine Arts in Kraków, and probably I will die here. I'm painter, it's my job. But I hardly ever work in studio. I really like work in open air. Here it's my studio in riparian forest, which is close to Vistula River in my city. But I want to tell you about a very important adventure in my life. In 2009 and 2010, I made a project, a very special project. In a whole year, every day, I climb on another tree. In October 2009, I promise all my friends and all my family will be climbing for another tree every day. And as a proof that I promise and I fulfill my word, I put picture with Cecilia on the tree on my Facebook. So through whole year, it was one activity which I did on my Facebook. I put picture with Cecilia every day. I sign what kind of trees it is. I sign also exact place where the tree is situated. And it's everything what I did. In this time, during that project, I completely didn't thought about tree defending. This project was a kind of very personal diary. It was my private story. I start in autumn. I felt by my skin on seasons, the weather, autumn, winter, rainy day, cloud day. That is way how I communicated with my friends, with people. The inspiration for that project, this project called 365 Trees, was my favorite book written by Italian writer Italo Calvino about Cosimo Baron, who promised everybody, all his family, that after he climbed up on the tree, he will never touch the ground. And this book is about his very personal promise and fulfill, and about to be stubborn. But Cosimo, it was a story, but my project was a true. And it is really, really something. I really liked that photos, which you see now. And what is important? The project with climbing trees, for me, was kind of bridge between art and city activist. When I put picture with Cecilia on the tree on social media, a lot of Polish environmentalists started writing to me. And they write, Cecilia, we like your project. Maybe you will be climb on the tree in our park because the trees in our park are in danger. And for me, it was something completely new. When I was close to the beginning, to the end of that project, I had a lot of new friends. Feminists like that project because regard is as very feminist. Ecologists like that project because regard it like a very ecological project, and also artists like it. I do nothing to promoting that project except the putting on social media. But when I finish whole year on the tree, I knew most of very involved environmentalists in Poland. I've got new friend from Kraków who was very effective and efficient ecologist in Kraków, and he told me that in Kraków there is a beautiful green area which is in danger because Portuguese developer bought this area and want to build their huge housing estate. And then I remember when I thought that because my tree project, I had new friends also in media field. I know a lot of journalists, so I thought maybe I use this possibility to talk about that our green area in our city in Krakow are in danger. And in 2011, I and my sister, we organized first protest in Krakow, where we use art as a tool. We convinced Krakowian citizens to wear blue butterfly wings made of cardboard, because on this meadow next to the blue lake, there was a lot of blue butterfly, which is under protection and on European red list of very rare animals. And it was one of the biggest miracles in my life, because on this green area in Krakow in 2011, 500 citizens of Krakow wear blue butterfly wings as a protest that we need green areas for citizens, not for the developers. And it was first big protest. And the tree project, which I show you first, was kind of bridge between art, academic fields, and using art as a tool to organizing social action to protect the nature. Our fight for green area next to the lake in Krakow was long. We fighting for this area 8 years, but finally city authority and city president made their park for whole citizens, and this area were bought by city. So it's big experience that art can be very, very good tool to do something. After that butterfly action, I was involved in many artistic protests and action to protect nature. Most of them was very local, was connected with my city. Here on this picture is action which I made with young people, with students. We organized funeral for trees because in 2014 in Krakow, along huge avenue in Nowa Huta district, they cut it all trees to renovating the street. It's very popular. Now in Poland, when the city authority want to make renovation of pavement or streets, they cutting trees, even the trees are quite old. Yeah, here is this funeral for trees. We can't save the trees because it was too late, but we want to say that something not good happened. And now I show you that after 5 years, I start be involved in more national-wide actions, not only action connected with a local issue with Krakow, because in 2016, something very bad, something very dangerous happened in Poland. Maybe you heard something about Białowieża forest. Maybe the biggest of Polish nature treasure. It's a huge forest close to East Polish border, Primavera Białowieża forest, which is really, really fantastic. There is a lot of really old trees. And our new government, which is ruled by Law and Justice Party, had a new Minister of Environmental. His name was Jan Szyszko, and he made very controversial decision to make huge and very wide logging in this Primavera forest. And a lot of activists, a lot of them connected with Greenpeace organization, started big protests to stop this horrible logging. And in Poland, in many cities, citizens organize to make protests and happenings to support the activists who went and organized protesting camp in Białowieża forest. Actually in Kraków, because I know that in Białowieża forest was a lot of good team, a lot of Greenpeace activists. But we want to show our solidarity, and I organized with my friend protest in Kraków, in our city, to support activists from Białowieża forest. And the idea of that protest was that people pretend to be a tree. During 2 weeks, we painting on the huge ring made of cardboard. We made forest mandalas. And in 2 weeks we painting. People are coming and paint mandalas which dedicated for Białowieża forest. And all of these mandalas look like shells, which we want to use to defend our beautiful forest, our great nature heritage. And I want that people during happening look like a forest. So we met, it was 2016, the beginning of 2016. In Poland was nationwide protest to protect Białowieża forest, and we in Kraków organized a concert for souls and happening for forest mandalas. I called it Oratorium for Souls. So we're looking for and gathering a lot of souls. People play and use these souls as instruments, as a music instruments. And then people heard very loud voice of electric soul. We lying and falling down as a tree. So on whole Kraków Mark Square, activists and normal citizens lying down as a tree in Białowieża forest. What is interesting that we did it 4 or 5 years before Extinction Rebellion action, when this Dying in performance are very popular now. And it was quite picturesque because we are looking like a forest. What's happened later? I was involved in many environmental action in Poland. Now I a lot of deal with together with river ecologists. I also organized huge campaign to save natural and wide river in Poland. We're protesting against building dams and river regulation, like you see. But something very dangerous for trees happened in Poland. After this huge logging in Białowieża forest, also next year later, in 2017, this same environmental minister, Jan Szyszko, prepare new law, which our government, Law and Justice, signed this new law. They give people the possibility to cut trees on private properties without any fees and any permission. So in Poland, people receive new law that when they've got their own land, garden, forest, they can cut tree even though the tree are old. So in spring 2017, we heard a sound of souls everywhere. It was extremely sad, even for me, because I saw that a lot of trees on which I climbed some years before, now they are stopped exist. This picture, these photos are very good picturesque and told about Polish situation, because our new government, Law and Justice Party, are very supported by Catholic Church, and they win election because support of Catholic Church in Poland. Also, this Minister of Environmental, he's supported by a big part of Catholic Church, and he very often show himself in TV and newspaper during Mass when he's praying. So, especially old people believe him. And our country a little look like on this picture that we cut tree, but we've got on our lips. Yeah, and it's 2017. I'm quite no environmentalist in Poland. A lot of friends from, not only from Kraków, from another cities, from Warsaw, Wrocław, Danzig, waiting that Cecylia helped to organize huge protest in Warsaw against new minister, against logging trees in Poland. But you know, was a mom. I'm born a small baby in 2016. So it was very difficult for me to organize big national-wide protests with 5-month-old boy. I don't know what I can do. I talk with my friends who are artists, and he told me, Cecylia, please stop be a politics, stop make protests, be artist again. Then I thought maybe I go out and I will make my solo performance. And on the beginning of this presentation, I show you my very personal diary, the year which I spent on the tree. It was 2010, and 7 years later, I made a quite similar project. In March 2017, every morning, I go out with my small boy, and I breastfeeding him on very sad landscape. On landscape, yes, without trees. It was very easy in Kraków, in my city, to find such place because trees were cut everywhere. And you know, something completely unexpected happened for me, because my very good friend Ania Grajewska told me, Cecylia, I want to do it with you. I also want to protest against this horrible cutting tree. I was really happy because I really like Ania, and you know, when you've got team, it make you more courage. And in 3rd of March 2017, we together, I and Anya, we convinced our friends who have small babies to do group performance. Yeah, and we thought that maybe it's only symbolic gesture to gathering together and breastfeeding babies in the sad landscape without trees. We sat on the very fresh tree trunk, very fresh logging place, and we are breastfeeding babies. We felt that it is our national-wide protest. It's not 1,000 people, it's only 12 months. But it was everything what we can do in that moment. We show that when we cut trees, we cut the future of our children. And we put this picture on Facebook. And this picture, it was crazy because when I put it on Facebook, it spread thousand times. All Polish media and ecologists, activists spread these photos. And what happened later? And then we organized fan page, and this performance was the beginning of social movement in Poland. Women, moms, social movement against logging trees. After 3 days, moms in completely different city, in Białystok, it was 600 kilometers from Kraków, gathering together and breastfeeding their babies. After a week, moms in Warsaw organized together and breastfeeding babies on recently logging place in Warsaw. So Polish mothers on tree stumps, because it's name of our movement, Polish mothers on tree stumps, give a simple instruction. Take a baby, ask your friends, meeting together, make performance, and ask local media to make you photos and protest and make a protest in this way. So we've got group and fan page on our Facebook, and we're asking women's moms in whole Poland to send us picture when they breastfeeding babies on a recently logging place. And like you see, it's a British newspaper. The Guardian used this photography as an illustration of Polish massacre of tree. So our small performance in Kraków was illustration of this horrible war for whole Europe. And we start thinking what we can do with this quite a big media success. So we start to use this photo, this image, as a manifesto. We take this picture and give it as a present to Polish President Andrzej Duda, and also to Polish Prime Minister, with letter not from ecological organization, but from simple citizen. And after it, we find a quite funny idea that maybe we will fly to Pope to complain to him that maybe he don't know that Polish cut trees with guts on his lips, and maybe he don't know that Polish church support in this horrible tree massacre. And after we organize crowdfunding campaign, and after 1 month we gathering money for traveling, for trip, for buying ticket, and spend 5 days in Rome for 5 months, because we really want give this picture to the Pope and say about our horrible situation in Poland. Yeah, we take our babies, we take our banners, and also we've got with us artificial tree stumps, because we was like, Polish mother on tree stumps. But we can't organize private audience with Pope. We was able only organize common audience for 1,000 people. Yeah, and it was completely crazy, and it is completely miracle, because we are really lucky that Pope meet us. He meet us because his guards tell him that there is a group of mom with babies, and he won't have a picture, photos, when he blessing the baby. So he come to us to blessing our babies. And in that moment, we give him a report about air, water, trees, Polish nature in danger. We give him a report written by main and the biggest Polish ecological organization, like Greenpeace Poland, and about bad condition of river and this horrible situation for trees. It was, of course, very symbolic situation, but for us it was very important that as we citizen, we show that also normal people should don't give up and don't agree with cutting trees. And this picture is for the end of my presentation, because my love for trees, my love for climbing trees, be with very close contact with nature. I'm both artist and environmentalist. I can't say what is who I am. I'm more artist or more ecological activist. I think this doesn't matter. But now my main topic in my life is trees and rivers, because without trees and rivers, I can't be happy. Thank you very much.
Well, I really hope that you all enjoyed that as much as I did and continue to do, because it's just genius. Rob, do you want to pop your camera back on now? I should say about Celia as well that I watched that. Someone's saying they can't hear me. Can you hear me? He says to his computer. Can anyone hear me? Yes, I hear you. This is a very bizarre, slightly existential experience for me. Everybody's okay. Right, I'm a bit quiet. That's the first thing I have been told that. I'll try and fiddle around with it in just a moment. I will speak a bit louder, which suits me fine. I watched Cecilia's presentation yesterday when she recorded it, and I watched it again last night when I was typing up the transcript, and I've just watched it again now. And for me, it's just as good on all 3 occasions. It's just amazing. It's such an inspirational story. I really hope you enjoyed it. I appear to have lost Rob. I feel like technology is letting me down now. I don't know if anyone else can see Rob. It says that I've stopped it. Rob's saying it says that I've stopped it. Sophie, as so often I ask you this, could you try and get me out of some trouble, please? I can't see Rob. There we go. Problem solved. And sorry about the technological difficulties at the beginning there, but we're all sorted now. Beth is saying, can we see this again and how? Yes, you certainly can see this again. It will be going on our website, at our online learning section with all of the other webinars that we've been doing. This is our 29th now. And also, we're going to have to find a way of getting Cecilia over to the UK to give a presentation, because I know I keep banging on about it, but I just think it's incredibly powerful. And there's a few, because normally we have 2 speakers and 2 sets of questions. We'll ask Rob a question, and then I might sort of intercut it with a few additional thoughts of my own, if that's not taking huge liberties. But there's some stuff about Cecilia's project that she didn't really go into huge detail about. So I think it's worth me saying, although I'm certainly not sort of speaking for her, she's quite capable of doing that for herself, but just not tonight. So, okay, let's look at some questions. Now, I've been looking at the chat, and again, I think there's some questions that have been going in the chat. If you could please put them into the Q&A, that would be really helpful. Justine in the Q&A has said, we're prepared for a fast pace, so no worries there, Rob. Justine was happy with the fast pace. And the inclusion of lots of links and Googling hints really helps for finding out more. So I think that we've had one bit of feedback about the speed of your delivery, and it was good.
Okay, cheers.
Tim Kellett has asked, Rob, did anyone do any dating from the core samples of the Buttington oak?
I don't think they did, John, but I will message Emma, and unless she's, I wonder if she's on. She might be on, but I will message her if she's not, and see if they did date it. I got a feeling that was asked, and I don't know the answer.
Well, one of the wonders of this this situation with our webinars is any questions that we don't know, we can simply follow them up afterwards and make them known. So if there's any questions that you don't get answered, everybody just email me, john@trees.org.uk, and we can sort them out. Question from Charlie. I'm new to the world of arboriculture. Welcome, Charlie. I hope you're enjoying your early experiences of the world of arboriculture. And Charlie asks, what is really involved when tree hunting? Does the tree become logged and tagged if preserved? And I sort of suspect, Rob, that you've made up the profession of tree hunter.
No, it was long before me. Alan Mitchell and others before that. Of course, the Tree Register of British Isles, they've got, 200,000 trees recorded. And Owen Johnson, oh my goodness me, there's the tree professors and Ted. There's lots of tree hunters about. It's a word that's perhaps changing a little bit in the 21st century into seekers, chasers, and other less. Because I must admit, in some European countries, I have to explain that tree hunting is a conservation task and not hunting them to chop them down. But and logging them, it always makes me laugh. Recorded is a better word. The media do use logged trees. Somebody's logged a tree, but we like to say record a tree. Generally, it's just getting, these days, the phones are good enough. We used to have a separate GPS, which I still prefer because it's a bit more accurate, but the phones these days make things so much easier. And certainly for the chap there who's asked that, setting up a tree trail, if you download the Tickle app, you can create a tree trail very quickly in a few minutes around your local park or wherever you're going for a walk. You can customize your own, and it's free.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Recommend checking out the Tickle app as well. Simon, I believe, is watching, so feel free to stick a link in the chat, Simon, if you like. Brilliant. Thanks, Rob. Okay. Mark has asked a question. Does Rob do walking tours of the Offa's Dyke trees? Now, presumably, at the moment, we have to be very careful with social distancing, etc. But what's going on with the tree tours?
Yeah, that was planned for last year. Well, I didn't put anything out. It was going to be last summer, yeah. Obviously, this is the 50th anniversary, so I wanted to start doing some of that. And that will come when we're all in a situation where we can do it. Because essentially, if we're not locked down, when we had that period in the summer and that where we could get about a bit, we can do socially distanced tree tours along Offa's Dyke. Yeah, and I'm looking at setting that up, so that'll. I guess the best way of saying that is tree hunters. What's the best way? Facebook group Tree Hunters and Big Tree Seekers. I'll put information out that way, and on Twitter and Instagram. So that's the way I'll publicize it, because I say the website is very, very basic these days, and I'd rather write the book than develop my website. So
yeah, absolutely. One thing I was going to say as well, Rob, is that you mentioned the Brimham Oak, and I said privately thank you to you, but thank you very much for you. And it's Mervyn Lloyd-Jones, isn't it, who sent a seedling of the Brimham Oak to us at the Stonehouse Community Arboretum. So it's currently growing in a pot in my garden and will be planted out into the Stonehouse Community Arboretum. So it's stuff like that adds a story, isn't it? I mean, I suppose this is my own question, but all of these amazing trees you're finding, some of them that people really don't know anything about, are you making efforts to take, whether it's seeds or cuttings, or to reproduce them?
Yeah, I'm not brilliant at that, I must admit. Ted and Phil. Anyway, Ted and some of the ATF chaps, as they were, have taken some of the Pontfaddock, and they've took scions. They took, like Kew did, when the Pontfaddock fell. A guy came up. The Kew sadly lost theirs. They had a problem with their heater system. But there are some people are doing it. Yeah, for sure. I'm not. I'm not. I've got a few. I've got two baby Pontfaddocks in my garden, but they're from acorns. They're not from the genetic material, if you like.
Brilliant. We've I'll cut quickly across to Cecilia's presentation, and again I have to apologise for me answering questions for Cecilia's presentation, which isn't really appropriate, but I'm going to try and go with it because Sophie, I didn't plant it, but Sophie heard a story that Cecilia told us last night after the webinar, after the recording was finished, and Sophie's saying, what is the significance of the breastfeeding element of the protest as opposed to just sitting in the landscape with children? Now, like I say, there's people from Poland watching who may be able to add to this in the chat or correct me, but my understanding, and I was lucky enough to hear this from Cecilia when I was in Poland, is that it's still, I think, safe to say, quite a conservative country, Poland, and Cecilia mentioned the impact of the influence of the Catholic Church there, and the fact that some of the politicians involved, Cisco, used the Bible as a justification for why they're removing trees to sort of, to dominate nature. Or I've forgotten the exact terminology of it. But it's the fact that in Poland, a lot of the time, the only acceptable time at which you would see a woman breastfeeding is the Virgin Mary. And so there's a sort of, it wasn't just an environmental protest, it was also a very, very strongly feminist protest, but also quite a blasphemous, might not be the right word, but Cecilia and her colleagues and friends were challenging lots of powerful groups on lots of fronts, and it's inspirational for that reason. And Piotr said here in the chat as well that Piotr in Poland was also involved in all of this. He was lobbying for some easements in the tree felling regulations in Parliament, and he said, excuse me, he said he can confirm that Cecilia's campaign helped a lot. The law in Poland did change to restore some of those protections to trees that were lifted by what's called Cisco's law, and Cecilia's campaign really did have an impact. So apart from being brilliant and artistic and wonderful, it was actually very, very effective as well. So I've put a lot of links in the chat about Cecilia's work. It's much better. Follow those links, read her words, listen to her in other places. But I think there's some important strands of the story that it's worth mentioning.
Yeah, one thing worth saying there, John, is my experience of the European Tree of the Year tours, that sadly, the male of the species generally in positions of power, like Romania, for example, in Campen, when I went there, I had an impromptu meeting with the mayor who had this conflict with the biggest tree in the city next to his office at Platanus. Some of the chaps have still got a very ancient way of thinking, really, that they can bulldoze through. They've got power and they just bulldoze through, especially it seems to be in Campen. There was Dan Stanner was a lady lawyer who was campaigning to save the tree. There's a bit of a disregard sometimes for opinions, and that it's changing, but it's not changing quick enough, shall we say, certainly the environmental sympathies aren't up to a level where they should be. And like I do understand there's sustainable forestry, and we have to make it clear that we have to cut trees down. Some trees do have to be cut down, of course. But there is a difference when they're ancient or heritage trees, and some people want to just take them out for stupid reasons.
Absolutely. Thanks, Rob. Okay, now a question for you, Rob, from Anne. I was thinking this, so thank you, Anne, for asking the question. It seems like quite a few of the trees you talked about in your presentation have fallen recently.
Yeah.
Is there any particular reason for that, or is that just misfortune?
Wow. Over the years, I've only been doing this 15 years since I changed career, if you like. We've lost the Pontfaddock, the Buttington, just to name, the two most prominent. Yeah, 1,000-year trees, we say 1,000 years, 800, 900, Pontfaddock over 1,000, and they're falling on our watch. And the Buttington could have been saved for the sake of a few £100, 500, up to 1,000 maybe pounds, and a bit of somebody to take a bit of a look at it. Wow, I don't know. It'd be a good question for Ted, that one. Exactly why so many are going in these times. But, I don't know if you could say climate change. I don't know. I think, trees do come to an end, but then pollards, a lot of people say tree have a natural life cycle, but the pollards, they've gone, they've been, many are ancient lapsed pollards. So they're out of cycle for, like the liddim oak, I don't know, 120, 150 years. It's like got 3 trees sticking at the top of it. So they do need managing. And because there's not the funding streams for landowners, this is why we need a soft brush protection. We don't want bureaucracy. Many landowners they jar against bureaucracy unless it's a subsidy form, and then they fill those in quite quickly. But they do jar. I can understand they don't want interference as they see it, but we do need a soft brush approach where there's some funding streams that can come in for these. These are, as Ted calls the castles, Chirk Castle, Windsor Castle, they're piles of stone with rags on the wall. These are our living monuments, green monuments, monuments of nature. These should, it's a no-brainer to me. It should totally, say the top 50 trees. I don't know, you might see something happening this year following on from Janice's petition that got $250,000 for use. You might see, we've talked about myself starting one, and it's all been awkward with Brexit, and then it's been awkward now with Corona. So we'll see, but we're going to get protection, at least for the top 50 or 500 ancient trees of the UK. It'll happen soon, I hope.
Fantastic. You mentioned Ted Green there. Of course, we often mention Ted Green on these webinars. And you mentioned his view on castles and Windsor Castle. The other thing I should share, just confidentially with our audience, don't tell anyone, but the other thing that Ted calls Windsor Castle is the biggest council house in Britain.
Yeah, he does.
I couldn't possibly comment. Right. Piotr's made another comment. Thank you. Just a remark about Cecilia's talk that Greenpeace did play an important role in defending the trees in Poland, particularly in Białowieża, but it was not the only organisation in that endeavour. Lots and lots of organisations were involved. And I think, obviously, Cecilia mentioned Greenpeace a couple of times, but it was a whole range of organisations and, of course, individuals, as she demonstrated, who were involved in that fight too. So thank you, Piotr, for making that point.
Yeah. And, of course, things have changed since Sheffield. The Stag, the Sort people there, Dave Dillner, all the people over in Sheffield have changed the tree world, certainly in the urban street tree environment. We won in the end. It was a long battle, and literally a battle in the end with the NVDA element that came in. But yeah, things have changed, and let's hope. We don't want to, like in Poland, they had this, I can never pronounce his name anyway, the politician she was saying there who came in and changed the law, and all of a sudden everybody, they didn't have to pay to have any trees, they had to apply and pay to have a tree. If you get that, then I don't know, it's very hard to fight against that, but fight they did.
I think I was in Lithuania. I think we've got a couple of people from Lithuania watching actually, but I think it was Lithuania, where a chap I was talking to said there was a blanket law where you had to get permission. All trees over a certain dBH were protected, and you had to get permission to cut them down by virtue of their size. And I started off thinking, well, that's a really great thing. Wouldn't that be brilliant to bring in? And I've seen some calls to make this sort of blanket protection in the UK. But the drawback from that, of course, is that between the idea being made public and it actually happening, there will be quite a period of time. And in that period of time, there's a good chance we would lose vast numbers of amazing trees that people were cutting down in order to avoid that kind of framework that protected them in the future.
Yeah. Lithuania. I went over to the first forest festival. I was invited there just over 2 years ago, and they still are fighting. They've got some amazing ladies there, and Algis as well. I hope Algis is on tonight. And Monica and Justina, powerful ladies. And we went to we went to the Parliament and met one of the Green MPs. But they've had problems with clear felling, and biomass across Europe has been a massive problem. The EU are not tackling it at the proper level and the proper speed that they should, to save a lot of trees across Europe. Trees in Romania being just the older forests. I'm talking about the older growth because, as I've said, sustainable forestry, you've got to have it. But these older growth forests are being decimated in certain places, and it's generally the West that drives the demand. So, it's over here that some of the problems originate, but it's over there. Even poor rangers in Romania, they've been murdered, by illegal logging gangs and that. So it's on our doorstep. It's not just in the Amazon and that, it's in Europe.
Absolutely. I should say to everyone, we've probably got about 10 minutes left. So if you've got any questions you want to ping in, then please feel free to put them in. A question I wanted to ask you, Rob, is one of the real challenges, I think, for our industry in arboriculture is to try and connect more with the public, to try and get the media involved. At the moment, all that the media and politicians really seem interested in is these sort of mass tree planting targets all the time. And you really seem to have kind of cut through to the media and to the general public in terms of getting your message across, being on Countryfile, that sort of thing. I mean, how do you think you've managed to achieve that? It's not too sort of broad a question. You seem to have been as successful as anyone really in talking about these issues.
Being a pain in persistence, obviously at one stage. A few things really. I was very lucky. I sort of was burnt out and sort of went pretty bad. And then I sort of volunteered with Sean Berkey, Shropshire Council, doing physical stuff, and I met Ted, and then I went to the ATF. So I ended up sort of cutting my teeth and learning about trees with people, Neville, who's here tonight, and Mick, and John Smith, and Keith Alexander, Caroline, Jill, all these people, Helen, just amazing people. And they were talking like in their own language, and I could understand about 1%. And what I tried to do was take what I could understand and then go down the pub and have a drink and watch the football and then talk about trees and then sort of include. And then what I found was that the fellas who were, I don't mind having the Mickey taken out of me because it was a new route for me. I branched out literally, and they'd be taking the Mickey, and then the next minute they'd be going away on holiday and sending photos. What's this tree like on Facebook? So it's trying to get it simplified, because I definitely don't know a lot about trees, because certainly for 3 years now, I've not been to the Ancient Tree Forum conferences where I used to sort of regen my knowledge. So there is a constant battle to try and keep it at a level that you can filter it. And that's the media seem to, because the media, well, they don't want to run them down too much. It's quite simplified stuff, which it has to be if it's going to be popular. And you'll see on the ITV program, I hope, some of these bad jokes might even help occasionally, and some of it's Ted's script as well. A lot of it's Ted's script, and just generally making it, because it should be mainstream. The tree hugging joke and all that. It's fair enough. We don't mind tree hugging. I like hugging a tree, but it should be more mainstream now with Greta and the climate change. We haven't really touched on that. But trees are the answer, and there's a combination between planting, like Save the Oaks project with XR, projects like that, and generally rewilding and letting the trees and areas do their own thing. one of the problems I think sometimes can be NGOs and the lobby groups and directions they want to go in, and that's not just in the environment, that's in life in general. At the lobby groups and certain, you'll notice I'm not on TV as much the last year or two. I've been told I did last year with John Humphreys, and then I had an in with them and I tried a few times, but I don't fit the current brief at the moment. The two words that I really hate are current brief. And I know what that means. And a lot of people might know what that means, but I'm not fitting it at the moment. And it's a bit frustrating because I think the Offa's Dyke thing would have made a whole TV series, Offa's Dyke Trees, not just because it's me, but because of the stunning scenery, the people down the dike and the trees down the dike would have made a whole series on its own. But I got so many knockbacks on that in the end, you do get a little bit demoralized and you have to pick yourself up.
Yeah, well, we got to keep fighting through these knockbacks. I think what's interesting about these two talks, really, the two presentations working together, is whilst they're about very different themes, they are both about how you get through to the public, how you get through to the politicians in very, very different ways in very different parts of the world. So I think they sort of went together very well. Fiona has said to Cecilia, I'll read it as if Cecilia's here, even though she's not. But to Cecilia, what a truly amazing cause you fight for in a truly amazing, creative and unique way. Is there a way to purchase that incredibly powerful photograph to raise funds for your campaigning? I think I probably know the photograph you mean. It's absolutely amazing. Cecilia, we put some links in there. Sophie's put one in immediately after your comment, actually, about Cecilia's website. And I know that she does have books available that can be purchased. So I'd recommend everybody went out and had a little look at all of the stuff that Cecilia's got there to offer. Okay, we've got one more question, excuse me, in the tank. And I really feel like you should all be asking more questions, because I'm having a look at some of the names that are saying hello in the chat. And you have got about as knowledgeable audience as we've ever had watching this particular webinar. So you should all be cashing in on that by asking questions. But anyway, question from Anthony, never lets me down. Hi, Anthony. It's as long-time viewers of the webinars will know, Anthony's questions are quite long. I'm going to read it all. Anthony says, Rob, there's been some discussion at recent ATF meets, Ancient Tree Forum meetings, about hawthorn and their deceptive appearance, that their small size possibly conceals great age, which is difficult to estimate as their girth is atypical of the forest-sized trees. What is your view, Rob, please, of the relative ages of those that you encountered on the dike? It's just disappeared. Can you imagine that? What's your opinion of those?
Sorry, I couldn't paste something out of my book. Yeah, absolutely. It's so difficult because of the, age in a tree is such a subjective science. Location, microclimates, etc. Those trees, the yew trees growing on the cliffs, they're just as Ted and them have told me, the mycorrhiza, the dissolving of the rock, of the nutrients, etc. So I've just sent Anthony a little reply from David Alderman, an email that we exchanged in 2009, and it was about a 45 millimeter diameter piece of the yew was sent to Forest Research in Scotland and Alice Holt in Surrey. And that had a ring count of circa 235. Although solid, the very center was impossible to count. So within 10 years. So 250 years for 45 millimeter diameter. And also we took a piece of rowan, which was 25 millimeters in diameter, and they counted 52 rings. It says in most cases, the trees are growing out of the yew, with the microspeed. Oh, yeah, it's the white beam. He's talking about the white beam. Could themselves be 150 or more years. And that is David Alderman. So, David is absolutely top expert fella. So those sort of figures perhaps give you some indication of the slow growth of these extreme trees. I like to call them #extreme trees. And the hawthorns, wow, I don't know. I got a vague idea from John White chart of oaks, 4 meter oak is blah, 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 5 meter oak is that. But hawthorns, I don't know, Anthony. But if that text I've sent you from David is helpful, then that should give you some indication. Brilliant.
Thank you, Rob. Tim's just put a link in for a a Till and Jed. Let's call them Till and Jed from now on. A Jill and Ted video. Jill and Ted's excellent adventure on Hawthorne. So that's in the chat there as well.
All right, excellent.
Now, Fiona said that she would love to see your collection of tree pictures, Rob. So another webinar sometime. As I said, Fiona, this is just part 1 of 2 of Rob's webinars for us, and we're going to see the other half of Offa's Dyke.
Hiya, Fiona. I've seen Fiona for a long time.
So at the end of lots of our webinars, as many of you will know by now, and again, I feel silly for stopping this because there's more than 150 people still watching, which seems a bit bizarre to be stopping it, but we've all got things to be doing, I'm sure. We like to ask our speakers what is their favorite tree-related book. Now, in Cecilia's presentation, she mentioned her favorite tree-related book, really, which is The Baron in the Trees by Italo Calvino, which is a really good book, I should add. I've read that one. Rarely, for all our recommendations, I've read that one. So that's Cecilia's. Rob, what is your favorite tree-related book?
Well, you know, John, I sort of mentioned a book that that is my favorite. I guess it's Archie Miles's Heritage Tree Wales. I will admit something here, and I hope Julian's watching. I've not read Julian's books, and I've not read hardly any tree books. And there was I think I may have said it a couple of years back to Julian. I want to write my book in my way, and I don't want to be influenced by other authors, if you like, if you know what I mean. It's hard to explain, but anyway, that's by the by. This is my favorite, Archie Miles's Heritage Tree of Wales. So I think that's stunning. It's got Offa's Dyke trees in there. It's got, whoa, just brilliant trees. And him and Eddie Parker are such brilliant photographers as well. But they're not a musician, Julian. You've got the edge on them there.
Thank you, Rob. Well, what we're going to be doing as well, just so you all know out there, is in this next edition of the Art magazine, I'm not sure exactly when it comes out, March, I think, but we're going to do a little list of all of the books that all of our expert panelists and presenters have recommended. We're going to list them up, who they are and what their favorite tree-related book is. So you'll be able to check through all of that at your leisure and go and buy your books from a reputable tax-paying organization. So I think that's it. I think we're kind of done. I don't know, Rob, have you got anything? I feel like I've got more time than I normally have at the end. Rob, have you got anything you want to add at the end? Any inspirational words of wisdom?
I wish I'd have put a beer just there. It's in the kitchen. Somebody's just put there something about your wonderful presentation. You're saving this lockdown. I think that's for you, John. I think it's great that you're doing this series of talks and at this difficult time. It's like the trees from windows, I must say, in Facebook, the group in Facebook, I've had some stuff that just humbles me. You know, people saying they're suffering with depression, which I know about, and they go out in the morning down the garden and they're hugging their tree and they're just getting so much from that sort of interaction. Jose, I know Jose Miguel in Spain was locked in his apartment, small apartment, 57 days, and he was sending photos of the mountains distant. There's a tree up there, Robin. You know, the scenario that people are in at the moment, it's just such a weird time and such a time. And I did write down somewhere, I'd like to say thank you. Of course, everybody says thanks to the NHS, and we sort of say it a bit glibly, but it's we can't thank them enough, and the scientists and people and my fellow shop workers in the store in Whitchurch. I've not been there too much this last year with one reason and another, but you know, the shop workers, fantastic. It's just keeping us all going, and I think presentations like this that you're handing up to people, I was gobsmacked there because I knew Cecilia. As I said, I did want to get down there. I knew about her campaign and I knew about the forest campaign, but I can't. One problem I've suffered with is being. That's why I'm at Mr. T's supermarket, is to earn some money to fund my tree work. The money in conservation work. All my talks have gone by the board. You know, all that sort of stuff. So, yeah, it's difficult times, but it's great. I think. these should be on the national health, these talks. You should have, actually, the mental health and well-being is a massive agenda at the moment, and there will be people jumping all over it. But essentially, tree people are right at the top of being able to give out these benefits, the most benefits to people. Certainly in Lithuania, I'll do it very quick. I met, oh my God, Dr. Qing Li, the inventor of what is now known in the Western world as forest bathing, Shinrin Yuko. We had a day with him in the Forest Festival in Lithuania. Oh my goodness me, that was an experience and a half. And it's because I get pretty hyped. It's very difficult for me to do what forest bathing is very slow and very noticeable. But the benefits, well, it's preventative medicine in Japan. He runs a school of preventative medicine, and it's about forest bathing.
No, I think you're absolutely right, and I mean, there's lots of stuff to unpack there, really, isn't there? But what you said about the money that conservationists earn as well, I think that hopefully this is something we've got to fight for more, really, which is people doing this hugely important job, whether it's arboriculture, landscaping even, and conservation, need to be paid properly as to reflect the fact that they're doing the skilled work that they're doing, and that doesn't always happen at the moment.
Yeah. Sure.
You mentioned mental health. We will certainly be having a webinar soon. I'm hoping in this series specifically about mental health and trees. It's a massively, massively important issue that I feel like perhaps we haven't addressed properly yet, and we have to. Next week's webinar, it feels very tawdry to pull in a plug for next week, so apologies, but next week's webinar will be looking at the importance of greenery to people indoors, both in the Sheffield study and in the study in Cairo about rooftop gardening, which again is an amazingly inspirational presentation. I saw Abdallah speaking at the World Forum on Urban Forestry a couple of years ago in Mantova, and it really is a great presentation. So I'm very pleased that he'll be speaking to us soon. And I should just finish by saying, because a couple of people are saying nice things in the chat, and Rob, you've been very nice as well. These Arb Association webinars, they really are a massive team effort. It's aside from all of our presenters who speak and donate their time, it's also the AA team in itself and the trustees. Sophie, obviously, I mentioned an awful lot. Sophie's brilliant. Sarah does a lot to help these as well. Particularly, I think for this one, a little shout out to Jason, who did all of the subtitles for Cecilia's presentation, which wasn't so much because we thought Cecilia needed subtitles. Her English is great. It was more because her connection dropped out at certain points. We wanted to make sure it was all recorded. So Jason, Steve involved as well, Sophie, Sarah, everybody at the AA, all of our presenters, you're all marvelous. And I think we should leave it there and let these good people get back to their lives. So please register for next week, check out our training, check out all the different things I keep telling you to check out. Go and check them out. Thank you very much to all of you watching. It's been greatly appreciated. It's lovely to see you again for what I'm sure is going to be a cracking year, and we will see you soon. Thank you so much. Good night. Stay safe.
It is. Cheers, folks. Ciao, ciao, ciao. Bye.